so we are now at part 3 of the boombox model. Right where I left off, I did a little looking around my model. I did notice that I did have that this middle piece on the top is a little bit thicker, but the way that it's thicker is because it's actually up a little bit higher. So I'm going to fix that real fast. One way I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select my edges. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the faces here, and I'm going to select these faces right here, and I'm going to bring it up a little bit. The way that this works is that this goes up just a tiny bit above it, and that should fix the angle issue also. And then what I do is that in the line here, I'm going to select this line that goes across, and this actually goes up, and it kind of is a little bit flush with the back part. So it's going to kind of raise up like that, and then it's going to kind of bring down. So that's one thing that we just needed to fix on my particular model. If you have that working already, then don't worry about it. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and work on the non-asymmetrical things for our object. And what we're going to do, we're really going to work on this particular video till we're about done with the body, is that I actually messed up the fact that there was supposed to be a cut-in right here, but I think what I might do is I might use a boolean to create the geometry right there, and then see how dirty it is, and I might clean it up that way as well. Or I just might leave it in there for this particular project. Alright, but what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and work on this back plate right here. So we're going to go ahead and, oh, that does not work with the screen recording. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and work on making a cut right here, and we're going to make a cut that goes across this way, and we're going to make sure we have a cut that goes up right here. And that should give us the basics for this particular geometry to be able to work. But first we might actually see if we have the correct geometry for that. So I'm going to go ahead and add a clear material to our object. Actually, there we go. So we have our clear tag. Got rid of the other one. And then I'm going to go into my back view, and we see right here, so if I look at it, that I have a geometry right here that I can actually rework, make sure it's straight, and then I might take this line, this edge here, and what I'm doing is while I'm in the back, make this visible so you can see what's going on. I'm going to take this edge, I'm going to go across the back of it, and then I'm going to, because I believe it goes past that way, I'm going to bring this up so that when we use this geometry that I already have, and I'm just going to bring it up to right here, so now I don't have to make a cut or anything for this edge right here. This is going to go all the way down, and then we'll see if there's any, looks like this geometry, but let's go ahead and check it, see what we're selecting in the back right here. Alright, we can probably take this edge right here, and I might take a little bit down a little bit more as well, and I'm going to go ahead and move it over to the correct side. Get rid of the visible one, and then we're just going to move this geometry they already have, so that we already at this point in time have this cut out. So it's like it goes down, and the way that this particular geometry works is is that there's going to be going to go. This battery plate is what we're working on. Actually, is gonna go down into this area right here. But all we really have to do is work about making a little divot inside here. And this works flat. That's fine. That's fine. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna select our faces, and now that we map this out, we're gonna select all of these faces right here. If you don't have that geometry right there, it's a pretty easy fix to do. You just have to make some edge cuts up or down and across so that you kind of space that out. Since I reworked my geometry for a lot of things, I'm just going to use the geometry that I already have. If I really didn't like the way that this looks or whatever, I could always, at this point in time, make a cut so that make a couple cuts so that it goes from here and it just flows that way. But there's nothing really that we're going to have to worry about inside here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and get this working. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do an extrude inner, make sure that my preserve groups are on, and I'm just going to go in just a tiny bit. Alright, so we extrude in a little bit, and then I think this is pretty flush. It is pretty yeah. So this actual object, when it's not poking out, it's poking out a little bit if you look at your image, but I think the reason why it's poking out is because the chords are actually pushing it out. So we can actually assume that this is a flat right there, and it doesn't actually have any weird geometry with you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work and by selecting these rows of polygons that we created that goes around this object. This is really easy. Right there. Alright, so we have all these objects, and then what we're going to do is really easy. We're just going to extrude. We're going to extrude in a little bit, just a tiny bit, just so that when we render it, of course we can't see it because of the recording, that you're going to get the look of there's actually some spacing right there. Alrighty, so we have that. If I look at my geometry right here, we do have these two spots working out. What I might do is I actually might build some sort of like a rounded edge and kind of bully it into both those spots, and I'll do that for that part right there. But like this could actually be done with a bump map, but if we're going to go ahead and model it, we can actually go get a boolean as well for that one. And then all these little holes, we're going to use a boolean as well to create that geometry. So let's work on these little holes first. Alright, so to create those, what we're going to do is we are going to hide our, name this, I don't know, I haven't named it yet, boombox body. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save as real fast, part 3, just so that if we lose anything, we got to be smart. Alright, so I have that, and what we're going to do is I'm going to make my boombox invisible, and I'm just going to work on creating the shape. So what I'm going to do to create this, I'm going to go get my cube, and I'm going to fillet it so that it kind of makes that look to it. I'm going to throw it on the visibility, a cloak of invisibility. But anyways, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make it editable. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to get into this side view right here. I'm going to just kind of scale it down so that it fits into the shape and the size of that object. Right here. I have to move it around just so that I can kind of get into that same spot. So we're going to try to get into the same size of this particular object. Just scaling it down quite a bit. I mean, we're just going to eyeball this. It's okay to eyeball a little bit. Alright. And the reason why I'm thinking that the Boolean is going to work perfectly fine is that, well, it does have a little bit of a lip down. So what we are going to do, so I'm actually looking at the object right now, and then, so this is too long, so let's really shorten this up quite a bit. This is not going to go in very much. Alright, so there we go. Of course, you know this, because of the way the bools work, the best way to get it to really stick out is to get the geometry to stick out a little bit. But what we want to do now is that, get rid of that thing, is that the way that it works when it goes into the object, it kind of, at the top part, it kind of goes down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my edges, and I am going to try to work on making this come down a little bit. So we want to use this line right here. Say this line is going to be the solid edge that we want, and then we'll make sure that this edge right here is going to be kind of the lip where it is, and then we just want to smooth out these. We're going to smooth out maybe like these faces right here, and I'm going to go ahead and select them. So we want to have these faces right here, and that is about, oops, I want to try my live selection. Right, so here went up a little bit more. Alright, so that's about 3 rows in. Select the other side, 3 rows in. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead, get our brush tool, and we're going to go to smooth, and then where's my brush size? Is it too big? Probably too big, way too big. Yeah, that's pretty big. Okay, so we can actually probably try to get like this. Not work how I wanted it to work. Let's see what we want to do to get this working. Well, it is kind of a straight cut down there. So we're going to try something different here. So that didn't work perfectly fine. That happens all the time. And what we're going to do is I'm just took a real look at it again. And we'll try to select these faces right here. And we're going to go this way, right here. I'm just going to delete these. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my close polygon tool. So now it's flat. Alright. And then what I might do now is, well, if I go across that way, I'll take some of these corresponding verts here. Try to bring them in a little bit. Oh, sorry, I'm going a little bit everywhere here. Alright. So we're going to try to bring these in a little bit. Just try to smooth smooth them out. Actually, hold on. Okay, so let's try making a cut here with like a knife, and we're gonna get a line mode and deselect these verts. Take my knife out again, and I'm gonna cut up all the way this way. Gosh, it's fun switching between one version, like from the Macs to the PCs. Alright, so that's done. Now, what I might do is I'm going to try to rework. I'm going to get rid of these faces here. And what I'm going to do when I do that, so that you can kind of see what's going to go happen, is that I'm going to rework the geometry flow. So this back part is rounded, but we don't want that. We want the back part to kind of be a little bit more of a solid look to it. And I'm going to delete this one just so that we don't have to worry about it. Alright. And we're going to go ahead and close polygon tool right there. So it's going to be more flat how it was. And I'm going to make some cuts to continue this flow. So that'll fix a lot of those issues. Get my selection tool, and I'm going to select all these on the back as well. I'll select the side one as well. Delete that. Get the close polygon tool right there, and now we're going to get our knife tool, and we're just going to cut down. There we go. Should make a nice slope. If you wanted to have a little bit more of a bevel to it, but it's such a small spot that it actually might look better with a sharper highlight right there. Alright, so we got this object right here. This is the right size. We're going to do, let's call this a back battery bully object poly. So, I know it sounds weird, but we're going to copy paste it. Alright, and we're going to use the other one for the other side. So now we're going to take our object here, select our bully whole object, and we're just going to move it out so that it's going to be inside this object right here. So let's go ahead and see if this is going to work. Not. No, we can always try something else. There we go. So now that makes some pretty crazy lines, and so that will create some weird geometry right there. If we wanted to hide the new edges, then I believe it's going to create it into an n-gon if I make this object editable. Alright, it looks like it makes it into an n-gon. I believe. Bool, we have this one and that one. Okay, so what happened is that, see if that did a pretty good job with all the cuts in here. Actually, that turned out real nice. I could combine these and then work through the geometry all the way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the bool like this, and then I'm going to hide the new edges. Alright. Because right now there's actually no new edges. So we don't want to mess with our heads with what we have. And then we are going to go ahead and Bitbool box body visible, and then we're going to B-box. Alright, so then we're going to take this other one, and let's see how far up this one went, because I want this exact same height. So I can actually the easiest thing probably would be to make a copy and paste from right there, and then I just move it over to the right size. Alright, so now we are going to move this with just the X one over to the right part, because it's right about the same spot. Bam, and then we're going to do another bool. There we go. Take this into that object. Now this is not the way that you would work on if you were doing something with an engine of some sort, but since we are just working on making the object look good with keeping these bools active, this will actually allow us to have nice looking geometry that's going to cut out, because the way that it's going to render is going to see that is that special bool thing, so we don't have to worry about anything crazy. So there's that object. Alrighty. And then we have to make, go ahead to this shading, we have to make these little tabs. And I'm going to make two things here, because this actually cuts in a little bit more. So this is going to be crazy. And actually, one way we can actually get away with having less bools right off the bat is that if we take these two polygons and we go ahead and we combine them, connect them, and then we just make that connection, and then we throw it underneath there, then it's all on one bool. Alright. And that actually makes it better, because that way if I need to move these together, they're gonna move and they're gonna move together as one object. But we want these a little bit more. Okay, cool. So now inside this particular object, there is the way that these faceplates work is that they have a little plastic knob that you squish down that sticks out, but there's a little bit of space, so we're gonna create another polygon object, and we're gonna be a little more sharper with this one, so we can probably get away with just making it a small cube that's gonna cut over here, and just so that we can just create some fake connecting polygons to the body. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to make these objects visible, and we're going to create a cube. I'm going to make it editable. I don't need very much geometry with this, but I just want to work on getting the size of it down pretty well. So I'm going to make it really small, cut it in quite a bit. I'm going to go ahead and throw my visibility on there. And I just want to work it so the height that I want the width I want it to be is going to be a little bit smaller than the little tabs here. So I'm going to bring it in just a little bit, and then I just want to make the height to be about a little bit smaller. So probably about halfway where that tab is that's where the top is gonna be. So somewhere right, actually probably make it a little bit lower, because if that tab kind of pops open, then we're gonna go right there. So right there. View our size here. All right. Okay, so it's gonna stick out a little bit with the bool. All right. So bam. And then we just have to move this around a little bit. And what I actually might do is that I might make a duplicate of this object. Command C, Command V, move it over so it's about the same spot in this object here. Alright, so I'm going to take these two cubes, I'm going to put them underneath a connect, so that they are one object. I'm going to make that editable so it is one object now. Alright. And then we're going to take our bool that we have here, create this is round insert, and this is going to be a square insert. Alright, we're going to go ahead and take this one out real fast. We're going to make another bool. And I want to have my round insert be the first child, and the square one be the second one. So now what it's going to look like is that, and I might have to bring my square one up a little bit, just so that there's a little bit of a backing to it. So now, if I make this one editable, so I'm going to have this cut to it. So now I have that cut to that bool, and then when I bring this bool as the child right there, it's now going to have that cut. But that almost did not work, so I wonder if I can change the way. So if I make this editable, if I can make the change different on the second one, or this one, union, nope, intersect, out. Alright, let's try it without. No. Alright, so A subtract B. Alright. Maybe it's because it should go farther in. Alright, so right now I'm just playing with the okay, let's see if that does what I want it to do. But what if we get rid of this face right here? You're not going to cut it? Okay, so I think what I have to do what if, let's try this. Might be going at this wrong. So let's take boombox right there, bam bam. So we have that object. And then let's take this one and make it a child right here. Okay, cool. So I just had to rework the order there. And I just have to make sure that I bring this up a little bit. Alright, so now I have that nice little insert like that. That worked pretty good. This is like super detailed for what I'm doing. You don't have to do this whatsoever, but I am going through the whole thing on how I would go about doing it. Alright, so now we have that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just make a cube. I'm going to make this little lip part, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cube, and I'm going to just work with extrude so it goes around this whole area, and then just kind of try to I'll probably bring it down a little bit, so maybe like it's like a now that I actually look at it, it looks like this first bool right here, like where the objects are, looks like I actually need to have this be a jagged look to it, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. Don't even worry about it. Okay. So next we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and make these invisible. I'm just gonna make a cube real fast. Bam. And then I'm gonna go ahead and make it editable. Shrink it down quite a bit. And get into this view so I can kind of look a little bit right here. I'm just gonna eyeball this, how big it's gonna be. Alright, and then we're going to work on the thickness right here. Alright, cool. Now we just have to make sure that it is the right. We move this up a little bit right here. Okay, cool. There we go. Let's put it in a little bit. And then what we're going to do here is that let's in a little bit. That's fine. Actually, maybe I'll bring it out just a little bit so it's not touching. And then we're going to make a couple cuts. And so the thing is that we're going to use the same one for the other one. So I'm not too worried about making too much to it. So we're going to make this cut, make a loop, and I'm going to make a cut right, go in a little bit from one side to the other side. Alright, and then we're going to make a cut on the top, on the bottom. Alright, and now we're going to take this face that we just cut right here, and I'm going to extrude it down a little bit, push it back a little bit, extrude it down a little bit again, extrude it down a little bit again, and then I'm going to bring it forward, and I might rotate it just so that my geometry is going to be the correct correction. Alright. At that point in time I can actually pull this out. But okay, so we got that working, and then we're going to go ahead and extrude again. We're going to go out just a little bit, and then we're going to extrude again, and we're going to rotate this down. We're going to rotate this down into, I'll rotate it down, and I'm going to move it down as well. And we're going to try to get it so that it actually rotates down into this geometry right here inside of it. So we'll say that, so that way when it gets rendered out, it'll look like this is part of the whole thing. And you could probably, if this looks a little clumpy for you, you can get this line. We'll try to select the line real fast. Alright. We'll just bring this in just to kind of relax it a little bit. And you can always bring this line out. We'll try to get it merging with the geometry. Alright, so there we go. Now we got our little tab that sticks out. And get tab. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy and paste it. And then since this is all lined up, we just kind of move it over till it kind of fits in the right spot. Alright, and I'll just move it over this a little bit more. So it's about 50%. There we go. One way. There we go. So those tabs are done. And alrighty. So next thing that we are going to do is we are going to work on these screw holes. Now, the easiest thing that we can do probably would be to create a capsule. And we're gonna look at our lines right here. Now, probably don't need whole lot of geometry, so we just want to make sure that it's going to we're going to have a little bit of rotation segments. So since it's pretty small, we can kind of get away with it being a little smaller. All right, so that's done. All right, there we go. And then I'm just going to shrink it down. So it's pretty small. All right, so now we just need to go ahead and hide the boolean, and then we're going to take this capsule and we are going to try to line it up, but first we need to rotate it 90 degrees. 90 degrees, there we go. And then we are going to look at the side view. That almost looks like it might be the exact same size that these are going to be at. So we're going to take this object and stick it in there. Wow, look at that. I shrunk it down to about the right size. Alright, cool. So I had that one correct. And then I'm going to copy and paste it. And I'm going to bring it down into here. Now I'm going to, since all these screw holes are pretty much the same depth, and we could actually add a screw in there, but I'm not going to because you actually wouldn't see that. But if you really wanted to, you could add a screw into there. But you do definitely see the hole themselves. So I'm going to take these screws that we had here, and I'm going to select all three of these capsules. I'm going to combine them, so that way if I move them, then they're all going to be on the same spot, and I only have to really edit one at that point in time. I'm going to connect all these right here. Bam. Now we're going to look at our bool that we have here, and we can actually take, this is visible. Okay, so that is not on the right height, so we're going to take, that's our screw holes. Screw holes. Let's see if there's any screw holes. There's one other screw hole, but that one has an actual screw on it. That one's gonna be fun. Okay, so we have that done. Okay, but we're gonna bring these forward a little bit together. And then we're just gonna kind of figure out how deep we actually want these screw holes. And now I might have to edit the position of some of these because it looks like on this one that this actually needs to come in a little bit so that it's on this. Let's see if I can fix this part there. Right, so I need to have this screw might be positioned correct vertically, but I'm going to bring it in a little bit, and I'm going to bring this one up again. So what I might do, and actually we'll go back a couple steps before I connect them. I'll get my, and I'll view it this way, so that way I can actually line them up before I connect them. But I'll go ahead and I'll take this connect, move it up a little bit, and then I just want to mess with the capsules themselves. So this one's going to come over a little bit, so it's kind of like in this back area. It's pretty close to the lip, but there is a little bit of a lip to it right there. This one needs to come up a little. Sorry, this one needs to come up a little bit. I'd say probably like right here. Yeah, like right there. That's fine. And this one itself needs to come in just so it's in the middle of this area. So actually, now that I look at it, these might be a little bit too big. So let's scale these down a little bit. Say like halfway. Yeah, that'll look better that way. So scale them down just a little bit, just so it's a little bit more proportion of what actually happened down here. So I'm going to make both of these. Oops, whoa, whoa. So that is like these individual. There we go. 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. And also that'll make it look nice where it's not taking up a lot of space either too. 0.5, tab 0.5, tab 0.5. So we are just making these look good. Okay, so we got these holes, we got this connect. We're gonna take this. If we wanted to be able to edit the size too, we can always use this connect, and we can do this. Could be a screw connect. Take this object and make this underneath there. So then I have this. I can use these individual ones, but we can always bring these in a little bit deeper. They do look kind of deep, so that works for us. There we go. Those work. I mean, I could. What is this? What is that? It's because I hide the new edges, and this is having some weird geometry issues. So I might have to turn off the hide new edges. For those, that's pretty fine. That actually looks relatively decent, which I'm kind of surprised too. But I mean, like these, like this is fine. That's fine. Yeah. I will give it to Cinema 4D. They actually had some nice geometry right there. I mean, like the only other way that you go about cleaning this up, you'd probably you go that way or a different way, but it looks pretty spot on with that geometry. All right. Plus, it doesn't. The nice thing is that since we have that all set up, that with those booleans, that we actually don't have to worry about the geometry. And then like for the lettering and stuff like that, we can do when we get to texturing, we'll just put it right here, kind of like a sticker, but with a bump map on that. And this part right here will literally be a sticker. It's on the inside right here. All right. So if I go turn that, it lines off. So now we have this look to it. With those holes, everything looks real nice. If I need to make those holes bigger, which I might, but I mean, like it's one of those things where I think maybe my proportions might be off just a tiny bit. Like I might have made these come out, these stripes right here come out a little bit, but I'm okay with that. Alright. Actually, seems like these needed to be thinner too. I don't know. That looks fine. Alrighty, so next thing we're going to do, we are going to do see if we can add the antenna part right here. So we're going to continue on with this whole options with adding the Boolean. This is an awesome tool. And we're going to go ahead and create the geometry. So we look at this thing. This geometry of the plastic part of it, which has, it looks like it's a cylinder that is sits like right about here, and it has a thick disc, and then it goes in a little bit, and the end part, the top part is going to be right about at the top part of this edge right here, and then it goes down a little bit and it sticks back out. So I'm going to go ahead and create that disc, and we'll see if we can get away with another boolean. See if Student40 is going to do a good job of creating that. If not, we might just add it all together ourselves and stitch and sew. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and create a let's make a disc here. Alright, and I'm just going to scale it down. And I'm going to bring this up so I can kind of up above it. This is the bottom, I believe. Yep, so the camera's top. There we go, and we have to go right over here. Oh man, what happened to this disc? Let's make that 0. We're gonna kind of eyeball this as well. This goes down a little bit right here. There's enough spacing, I believe. Let's just kind of look at it right here. So there is some spacing right there between these two spots right here. So, but I might bring it over just a tad bit more. It looks like the antenna is, so there's this edge right here. Let me get my displays here. So there's this crevice right here, and looks like the antenna, which is going to be in the middle of the disc, is over just a tiny bit. Alright, there we go. Now what we can do is we can select, make it editable. Actually, let's reduce the disc segments. We'll add 1 because we'll use that middle disc to create the antenna piece. Alright. So we got that size done, and now what we're going to do is we're going to make it editable, and I'm going to select the faces, and we don't need those inner faces. So, alright, and then we're going to try to get view back onto it, wherever it is. There we go. Alrighty. Gosh, it's like super sensitive here. Alrighty, so there we go. Got it back in control. And then we're going to go ahead and do an extrude down. And I'm going to try to get to right where the cap is, almost right here. That's fine. And I'm going to do create caps, so that way I have all that geometry back on the top. Alrighty. And I'm going to actually use this inner loop here that we have for this edge that we created. And I'm going to scale it out just ever so tiny bit, so that it's going to give me a little bit more depth to it. So I did a pretty good job of stopping it where it should have been. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and extrude down with those edges. You can extrude with edges, is perfectly fine. Okay, so let's just extrude just a little bit, and then just bring them down. And we might shrink them down a little bit because they kind of got screwed up with that. Alright. And then we'll actually bring it up a little bit because I'm looking at it and it doesn't go all the way down. We'll go halfway. If we want to, I guess we could continue on with the extruding out. So we can extrude out down just a little bit. Actually, we'll just extrude this all the way down into the thing. And then we're going to hide this object. And then we're going to select all of these faces on the side. Why does it want to move around here? Okay, there we go. So we're going to select all these faces all the way around, and then we're going to do another extrude, and this, extra awesome. So I'm taking a look at it, that this bottom ring is actually a little bit thicker than the top ring. So we'll get that set up, and then we'll just go from a top view, and we'll just, now that I extrude them a little bit, I'll go ahead and scale them out just a little bit. There we go. So now that works like that. Alright. So let's try adding this into another boolean with our object right here. Alright. And we actually probably are going to, now that I look at this, select all these bottom faces here. Wow, I did a sloppy job selecting stuff. So we get that bottom ring here. And these actually need to come down until they go all the way through. Because the way that geometry works is that it kind of rounds out and flushes into the actual object itself. Alright. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and create a bool, and we can continue modeling with this thing once it's inside the bool, but I just want to see if it's going to work or not. So we have these bool right here, have this disk as this child, and then we just need to see if we can do a union of it. It's perfectly fine. Of course, it creates some crazy geometry, but that's fine because this is a complex shape right here. Bam, we have that done. If we want to kind of make it a little bit easier on ourselves with that geometry, we can actually probably take these faces that are on the top rung, and we just bring this up just a tiny bit so that way it doesn't intersect with the other geometry. So that way it's just slightly above, and I'll go ahead and show you. So right now we see we have this geometry right here, but if I bring this up just ever so slightly, so now it won't have too much crazy geometry. So I don't know if that did worse geometry. Hold on. If I bring it down more, the crazy geometry, that's more crazy geometry. Yeah, it cleans it up just a little bit. So if I wanted to get have a little bit nicer geometry, or just not as much, I can just kind of make sure that it's almost to the point where it's touching, but it's not really touching. Because then that really saves up with the geometry elsewhere. Alright. So that works real nice right there. Now we're going to use this inner ring right here. And we're going to extrude up. Now when we actually texture, we can select these faces on here, and we can apply a metal look to it. Alright. Come on. There we go. So we got, it goes up a little bit, and then we're going to extrude it up just a tiny bit as well, but then we're going to shrink it down, scale it down, and then we are going to do an inner extrude to kind of bring it in just a little bit more, and then we're going to do another extrude up. These are a lot tinier, and we're going to rinse and repeat this a couple steps. So this has actually 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, it'll be easier if I just pull out the whole thing out. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 segments. So right now we have 2 segments. So there we go. That is that, and then we're going to do an extrude inner, just a little bit. You get an extrude, just a tiny bit. Extrude again, just a tiny bit. Scale it down. Extrude inner. And then we're going to extrude out again. Just a tiny bit. Extrude out again. Scale it. Oops. Scale it in just a bit. Do an extrude inner, a little bit smaller. Now, right now we're at 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 2 more. So then extrude out just a little bit. Extrude out a little bit, another again, and then we're going to scale it down. Extrude inner. And then we're going to do 1 more. And then once we have that 1 more, then we're going to work on creating the little bulb on it. So extrude again, just a little bit. Extrude again, just a tiny bit. Scale this down. And then we're going to do an extrude inner. And then we're going to do an extrude out. Alright, go up a little bit higher than the other ones. And then we're going to do an extrude inner, but we're going to extrude out with that, and we're going to make it a little bit thicker than the one underneath there. Then we're going to extrude up a little bit. Just a tiny bit, and then we're going to extrude out. We're going to scale it out so it gets another bevel to it. And then we're going to get an extrude and go pretty big. Alright, and then we're going to do another extrude, but go pretty high, but then we're going to really scale this quite a bit, because it's like the bottom part of the of that, and we actually I might bring it down just a little bit. Alright, and then we're going to, if we want this lip, we can probably just do an extrude up. So we can do another extrude up. Alrighty, and then we can do, then what we're going to do is, I'm going to do a edge. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a, because I want this to be kind of round, I'm going to get my edges out. I'm going to do a loop cut around here somewhere. Do I have something selected? Probably have an edge selected. There we go. So got my knife tool, and then I'm going to make it somewhere like here, and then we're going to select these faces right here, just going to kind of bring it up just a little bit. Alright, and then there we go. There we go. So that, if I take off my shading, select the object, there we go. It's pretty spot on. Pretty spot on. All right, that really worked out pretty good. So we have that done, and then the next thing we can do is going to be let's get those side on the sides that there are a sticker. So like right here, there's these little indents right there. What we can do is, I bet you that'll be super easy. We'll just do another boolean. So we are layering this thing with a lot of booleans here, and we'll just make a cube, and we'll fill it, and we're going to change the size of it quite a bit down uniformly. Alright, it looks like it goes from this side to the other side, so we can kind of eyeball it a little bit, at least for the width, and then we'll make everything invisible so we can alright, this goes up a little bit, right there. Scale this in a little bit. Alright, and now we're going to turn off this boolean. We are going to make this invisible. Alright, and then we're going to get to our side view. Here we go, and then we just want to shrink it down so that it's going to be the size of this thing. Shrink it, shrink it, shrink it, shrink it. There we go. Oops. And of course, then what we need to do is we need to see how it looks in relationship to our actual object. Is that somewhat in the middle there? Okay. And then we just need to have this shrink down quite a bit because we only need a little bit of it. And just kind of have a little bit of the edge in there. I'm going to create a okay, so we're going to copy and paste this, and then I'm going to put this on a positive X position, and then I'm just going to look back at it and just make sure that everything's fine. How far is supposed to be in for this duplicate? Alright, that's fine. Now what I'm going to do, just so we can move them around together, and then maybe like up and down and left and right, we'll go to a connect, throw these two underneath there, a side indents. Wow. Delete. There we go. Side indents. And then we'll have a boolean again, or a bool, de bool. Right there we go. And then we'll just throw that in there as well. Now that cuts it out pretty. Okay, then we got to check to make sure our bool is going to be not a union. We want a subtract. And then let's make sure that our invisibility textures are off. Now those go in quite a bit. Well, I would say that this one needs to come out just a tiny bit more. It's really just a very minor dip. And I actually might shrink it down so that it's going to be more of a sharper dip. There we go. That's a lot nicer. select this other cube, and I'm going to do the same to that one. I'm going to shrink it down with the scaling. And what the scaling's doing is that, you can't really see it right here with this inside the bowl. What it's doing is that it's bringing the bevel or the fillet that it had, instead of it being really wide, it's allowing it to be pretty thin. So that means it's going to be a sharper color cut to it. Let's turn off this shading like that. That's pretty nice. I think that's about the same that the other one looks like. We can always copy the 0.5. See how this one is. Yeah, wow. One is negative 0.58992, and the other one is 0.58.298. So it's not too far off. Just make sure that that one. I just want to double check the. So this one is in a little bit more. I kind of like the way that second one looked, so we're going to bring this one in just a tiny bit more. There we go. So now we have that cut. Of course, we look at our lines. They're going to have some weird cuts. That's why we are doing this after we did all our other modeling. Alrighty. So that's that. We have this. We have these little sides. And know that there are really, really tiny scrapes on both sides of this, but they are so really, really tiny that I don't even think it would be worth. You wouldn't even get anything, even if you did want to make this like super high. You definitely would make that with a whatchamacallit. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing we need to do is, if we look on the bottom of the screw, or of the antenna, there's actually, right where this foot is, there is a screw. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a couple different objects. We're going to, because this goes in, it goes from here, and it's kind of, the top part is kind of flush right here, and then so we're going to make two cylinders. We're going to make one that's going to be it's going to go flush from on this part, and it's going to go all the way down, and then we're going to make another cylinder that's going to be longer, that coming out of this thing, and we're going to have it cut through this foot and through that little hole. Alright, so go ahead, grab our cylinder. We can cut down how many segments there are, because it's a pretty small hole, just so it kind of looks somewhat smooth. There we go. We can scale it down, move it around so that's in the right position. This thing goes, maybe half of it is, okay, so this is too big, because the way, and I'm looking at, what I'm doing right now is I'm just looking at the actual object right now. Half of it is going to be on this part, and then it's going to be small enough where it only goes about halfway to this part right here. So we need to scale it down again. Alright, a little bit more. That's good. And then we're going to bring it up a little bit so that it is flush with that. See if we can kind of get that flush, but if we can't, it's fine. Okay, we're actually going to go down a little bit because the way we're going to add this is we're going to do a boolean. Gotta love those boolies. Boolean, and then we're going to take our one that we're working on, add that, add this new child, the second one. And what we want is we don't want it to cut out. We want it to add to this object. So we're going to take our boolean that we just added, and we're going to do a union. And so now this is a solid object. That's awesome. And then what we're going to do, and we actually have to make sure we move this over so that it's like right about here, because it really cuts into the foot a little bit. All right. Now we're going to make I'm going to actually use this one, copy and paste it. And I'm going to use this cylinder that we already have, and I'm going to shrink it down a little bit. And then I'm going to bring it up a little bit. Up all the way. And I just need to determine how thick I want that to be. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to use another boolean to cut into it. A little bit more. There we go. And if I wanted to rotate it a little more. That's fine, whatever. Alright, so now I need this to stick out a little bit because it actually cuts into this top foot. And what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and guess what? We're going to create another bool. Take the one that we're working with, throw it in there. Take the cylinder, throw it in there like that. And now we have a nice little cut to it. We could probably scale it down a little bit. Oh, nope. I want to take the cylinder and I want to scale it. Oh, because I haven't made editable, and then I can make it a little smaller because the screw's only going to be a little bit deep. Alright, there we go. And then we could probably, quite possibly, actually, that would work. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this cylinder that we have here, copy and paste it. Awesome. And we're going to use this. We're actually shrink it down a little bit. Just so it kind of has like a little bit of space between there. And since this is the same shape, same position of those other two ones, it's going to be right in the center. We're going to create a screw out of this. So one thing that we might want to do is we'll take our edges and see if we can actually create a bevel on it. Oh, because that's right. So okay. So what we're going to do here, since the cylinders are not technically a solid object, we are going to select these faces, and we're just going to get rid of them because we're going to rework it anyways. Alright, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the hole. There we go. And now I'm going to try to eyeball with not a loop, a line. I'm going to try to get it all the way across here so that I can cut here. This might not be the best thing, but alright, there we go. That's fine. I'm just cutting across and trying to create geometry so that when I bring it across, I do some sculpting with this. Bet you I can actually see if I can with the FFD with the cylinder and fit this. Oh, actually, wrong way. FFD, throw that in there, fit this to the parent. Now I'm going to select my points, and I'm going to try to pick this middle one, and it's got a little bit of a... Okay, so let's... see if we can... No, I want those. So there we go. So we get this middle thing. Wonder if there is a middle point here that is... No? Alright. This should... Really? We are not going to want to work this way. Alright, well that did not work how I want to. Maybe I can get a... Why did you not want to work? Do I have anything selected? There we go. Faces, are they selected? Okay. So maybe what we can do, let's try the brush. We'll do it from a bottom view. This is the bottom. So top, bottom. Alright, cool. There we go. Get in real close. Now let's see. Let's change it from a bell. Let's do a circle. Not smooth. Let's do a pull. Let's see where that worked. Nope. Really? Alright, let's try selecting all of these faces and see if this will work. Otherwise, you just might have to manually do it. For some reason, that's not going to work for me. Although it should. I might have to do it because maybe the bottom is wacky as well. Alright. Actually, let's try the magnet tool a little bit. Right here. No, that's not what I want. Do the brush tool. Pull, and maybe I have to, maybe it's because the brush is too big. Alright, Control Z, let's make it a little smaller, a little bit larger. So that did not do very much. That did not pull what I wanted it to. Alright, so let's see if we can do it in the try the bell. Okay, so that worked for me. So I did a bell, and I tried to pull it up a little bit right there, just so that it kind of had that look to it. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and funky monkey. I'm going to select some faces here. They're going to go across this way and then across this way. Alright, so that's a good spot, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to extrude them in. What the funky monkey? Oh, create caps, turn that off. Create caps, that's fine, there we go, we got our screw. Awesome. Then all we have to do is we select the object itself, and we're going to bring this down. It's down. It looks like we actually have to select this cylinder bowl. I'm going to have to okay, so I need to have cylinder bowl to be a little bit longer so that I have my screw can have some depth to it. Alright, so now I got my cylinder right here, and this is the screw. Bring that down so that it goes down a little bit as it sits down perfectly fine. I mean, if you wanted to, you could probably squeeze these together so it kind of tapers a little bit. That looks pretty fine, because like it's going to be like this big. I'll take the shading off. Yeah, does it look like a screw? Yeah, it looks like a screw. Okay, cool. So we got that done. We're going to name this screw. That is the only screw that we can really visibly see. Alright, so we got that. We got that. Let's see what else we have for the body itself without having to make any additional objects. We are going to go ahead and create the headphone jack, the headphone jack, and then we're going to create the slider box that we have inside here. Now, the slider box looks like we're going to use two bevels or two booleans to it. No, no, we can get away with just one, because it looks like this particular knob is actually, or the AM/FM stereo slider is actually a big object, so we just need to cut into it, and that looks like it's at a, I would say that's like a 45-degree angle, but we'll go mess around with the angles for that. So let's actually go ahead and do that one, and I just need to make sure I turn my front plane on. Alright, so actually, plane. Oh, that's for the bottom right there. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to put it in the back. Alright. And then I'm going to put take off the texture tag for the back one, so now it's a front. So now when I go ahead and look right here, I just have to make sure that I change my camera view to front. So now I have this. And I know that it's a little bit off right here, whatever, it's reference. So if I look, this object should be where is it? I gotta really go down here, don't I? Oh, there it is. That's why. So yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and this, I have to this is backwards. So there we go. So all I did was just change my tile use to a positive one because this knob actually is on the left side. Alright, so we're going to make a cube, and then we're going to make it editable, then we're going to shrink it down, and we're going to shrink it down again. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and add a material to it so I can see through it, and then I'm going to try to bring it around here, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to get in the middle, and by rotating it. Alright. See if it's going to be at a, looks like it's at a 60-degree angle, or not 60, but I rotate about 60 degrees. See if that's actually right. Looks like it's going to be a little bit, it's like an odd, there we go. Just a little bit. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to scale it. If it's looking like this when you're scaling it, just click the button right here to do object coordinate system. So that means that I can scale it this way, and need to go in a little bit this way. Alright. There we go. Ooh. That is not right. We gotta rotate it. Okay, so I have to rotate it 90 degrees here, so it's flat. Now when I go into this view, I have to rotate this 30 degrees and check it a little bit. Yeah, so I messed up my rotations a little bit, but I can fix that pretty easily by going back a little bit. Alright, so that looks a lot larger than oh, okay, there we go. So we'll scale it down a little bit. So maybe I had it right. We'll see. So we're going to check out this bully right here, and we're going to move it from over here so that it cuts in. Looks like that's quite a bit, so we're going to scale it down a little bit. You don't really have to because it's the bool, but I like to make a little bit less cluttery with stuff. So there's your slider. And we're actually what we're gonna do is we're going to use this object to create our slider, and then we just want to make sure that the position is good. I'm going to go back to world position, and I want to move it up just a little bit because there's actually some space on the bottom from there. Move it over a little bit as well. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it where it kind of looks like it should be, because the head jack hole is going to be right here. Alrighty, so we're going to get this, and now we're going to take our object right here. We're going to go ahead and create another bool. Throw it underneath there, bam. Take this cube, throw it underneath there, bam. Now we got our depth to it. Let me take away the visibility so I can kind of see what's going on here with this object. So it looks pretty deep, but that's fine because we're going to go ahead and use this to create that slider. So let's go ahead and do that now. So this particular slider, it has the knob on it, and then it has a silver placing on it that it connects into. So what we'll do is we'll shrink this down just a little bit, so we can work on the knob, and then at the bottom we'll expand the geometry outwards a little bit so that it kind of cuts into the top part. So we're going to go copy, paste. We got this button. Actually, that's pretty good height to it. We're going to go back to object view. We're going to shrink it down uniformly. Just to the point where I have just a little bit in between right there, and then I might shrink it down a little bit this way. I'm just doing this by my eye, and we'll actually take this out just a little bit as well, so it's a little bit, it's out there a little bit more. Okay, so I'll show you over here what this looks like, and with this picture, if you have your own picture, you can see, or when you look at the object itself, that this right here, there's like a little cut in right here. We can cut that in with the object itself. There is it slopes up right about here, and then there's a bunch of little ridges right there. So the ridges, we'll probably leave those again, because we can probably get away with a bump map on those, because they're pretty small. And we'll go ahead and we can actually probably leave the cut in this thing as well for a bump map. So we'll just try to get the basic shape of it. I feel like this should be longer than it is wide. So let's take this object and let's squeeze it down a little bit. That's much better. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get our edges, we're going to get our knife tool, we're going to get to the loop. I'm going to make two cuts here. I'm going to make a cut here, and then I'm going to make a cut here. And then what I'm going to do, actually we'll do a cut a little bit closer. We'll do is we'll just take this face right here, and we're just going to pull it out just a little bit so that it's a little bit higher than the other one. There we go, and then we need to find where this bottom is. So we'll go ahead and we will select the bottom. I selected the bottom. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do an extrude inner. And I'm going to extrude it out quite a bit. I might have to go back inside here. So now on the inside, and then we'll do, we'll just pull this out just a tiny bit. Alright, just a tiny bit so I don't get any weird artifacting or anything like that. And actually at this point in time, I could probably delete this face that I selected. There we go. So now what we want to do is we want to make sure that our geometry doesn't, like right here where it intersects, we want to get our verts out, and we're going to go ahead and select our verts, world view, and move them around so that they encompass this part right here. That's fine, but they don't go and poke through anything else like that one on the bottom did. I'm going to take this so that encompasses the whole thing. So that way, if I decided I want to make this a shiny, go ahead and get my object view, so right there. If I wanted to make this a shiny, we'll just say that this white is a shiny metal, that it's a shiny metal. That looks like it's a little bit too tall. So it looks like it's a little bit tall, but let me just rotate around. Yeah, that's a little bit too, it pokes out there a little bit too much, so what we can do, see if we may move it in a little bit more, and then we can maybe select our faces that we have right here, and we'll move those up a little bit more, a little bit closer to the edge. Alright, there we go. So that's a little bit better. Like again, like I said again, you can cut those if you want. We've done many cuts like that, like however we want it. We can make a little cut in there with either the Boolean, or we can actually go ahead and manually cut those as well. Probably since it's so small, I mean, the best thing would probably at this point in time would be to make actual textures for that. All right, so that is done, and we'll do this. Name this as the slider. All right. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do our little headphone jack. And we're going to create two objects. We're going to do two cylinders. And I'm going to go a little bit backwards with the cylinders. So I'm going to first create the middle inside of the headphone jack. So if you look at your actual image, non-site Cinema 4D, you can see that there is this little silver metal headphone jack that goes in, and then there's a little cut around it. All right, so what we're going to do for this process, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make the metal part first, and then we're going to use that metal object wherever we place it, and we're going to make the cut for the actual geometry. All right, with maybe some editing to the actual object. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use let's use a tube for this particular thing, and we're going to scale this down quite a bit. All right, squeeze quite a bit, move it around. Alright, and then we need to edit the tube itself, with the object, with the inner radius being pretty, actually we'll bring this down quite a bit. Well, now we'll go like this, and then maybe we can scale it down also, because this is a really small part. Let's see where it is within relationship to this actual object right here. So looks like this metal object is about the same width wise as this hole. So if we use this as a reference point, we can scale this a little bit more away. Or the other. There we go. I'll do a little bit more that way. Okay, so that looks like it fits in there. And then we just have to play around with the inner radius. Maybe make it a little bit thicker. That's good. Alright, so that's fine. Then we're going to fillet it. So now it has a nice fillet to it. And then we're going to change the height so it's a little bit thicker. Goes in a little bit more. Alright, then we're going to bring this over, and we're going to try to eyeball this where it's supposed to be. If you want to kind of get where it's going to be, normally it would be like the center would be right about this corner, and then wherever you kind of feel like it wants to go on one side or the other side. That looks like it's a good spot for it. And then I just want to bring this in. Alright, so that's where I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it right there. And this is actually the height that I want to, it's going to go in a little bit with the cut that we're going to do. So I have this tube, and this is going to be a phone jack, or a headphone jack. Alright. Copy paste this, and we're going to call this as the headphone jack bool object. Okay, so we have this one. We're going to make this a little bit bigger, so we're going to scale it a little bit like this. Alright, and then we're actually going to bring this up a little bit. To wherever I want the depth. Actually, it looks like we want the back to be right about a little bit underneath where that is. Alright. So what we want to do now is we're going to make this, we're going to actually get rid of the spool right here, or so that we can actually see what's going on. What we're going to do is we are going to, how do I want to do this? Okay, we're going to make this editable. Alrighty. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, what am I going to do? Actually, I might have two bools. No. Okay, so, sorry, just trying to think how I want to approach this. Actually, I'm going to unedit it and then see if I can change the, and I probably easier if I turned off the fillet on this one. And then if I change the inner radius just a little bit, just so that this works right here. Alright, okay, so what I'm going to do is I unedited it, so I went back into where I can edit it, and then what I did is I turned off the fillet on it. I'm going to do a bool here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this, and then I'm going to make the inner radius 0 for this new one. Alright, and then I'm going to make, hold on, so you can see what's going on. So I just made the outside one that I made a dupe. Okay, here, let me go back. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, we're going to do a little shenanigans here. Alright, we are going to, I can kind of get my point. There we go. We're going to take this outer one right here, and we are going to, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but we're going to try it anyways. We're going to, what do I want to do? Okay, so I'm going to make a copy of this one just so that if I need to go back, I can. So I'm going to take this first spool that I had, and then I'm going to close the inner radius so there's nothing there, so now it's just tube. Alright, I'm going to get my bool here. I'm going to create another one. Take this one that I've been working on, throw it underneath there. Editable is fine. And then we're going to take this first one, make it the child of that. So now that we have that shape to it, but what we need to do is that, and I need to make sure that I can try to get it up where it's going to be kind of flush with that right there. So now what I need to do is I need to get another cylinder, so I can probably actually use this headphone jack one. We'll just copy and paste it, and this will be the headphone jack small bool. Alright, And then what we're going to do here is I'm going to make the inner radius 0. Okay. And then I'm going to make the outer radius down just a tiny bit. So we want to make sure that the outer radius will be inside this inner radius. So we just want to, I need to make this like, this will probably be like 2.5. Ooh, no, 2.5. There we go. So if I go and look at my lines, what we can see, quite a bit. And we can probably turn off the fillet on this one too. That, okay, we can kind of see that it's inside that one. So, and we can actually make this more if we need to. Alright, so that one works, and then we're gonna get another bool. We just love our bools. And we're going to take the one that we've been working on, put it underneath there, this one, the small one, as the child. And hold on. That's fine. There we go. Small child. There we go. Okay, so now that cut out inside the actual object. And you can make this larger if you wanted to. Oops. If I make it editable, then I can select the object and I can make it larger if I wanted to. So it goes in more. Alright. There we go. Now we have our headphone jack placement. Alrighty, I'm gonna, for this recording, I'm gonna go ahead and stop right here. The next recording, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work on these. I'm gonna create knobs as a recording and add them into this object, and then I'm going to create the speaker itself. The mesh is going to be a different object, or it's just going to be a solid object, and then we can create the speakers in the back if you want. If not, actually I probably won't do it for this one, but like that's additional things that you can add to it. We're going to go over and create this object itself right here, and then we're going to go ahead and create the little side objects. And I believe once we create all of those, then we would be done. So that's actually maybe probably shouldn't take too long, because I know a lot of you guys have your objects created with this right here, this thing right here, and then I believe we did. Oh, forgot. We have the side one that we have to add to, which is over here on this side. But I'll go over that as well. But I'll do that one, and I will do this one right here as individual ones, and then I'll have a video where I combined all the separate objects that I created, so that if you guys want to skip one or the other, you can totally do that. All right.